So Shamina Taylor, the author of Unlocking the Quantum Woman.
Sorry.
Oh,
go ahead.
No, we're just going to keep going.
Go.
I love what you stand for. I love what you teach. And I've never really spoken about this topic. What I want to talk to you about is what a lot of people hate talking about. What I've noticed is money. And I don't want to talk about money into like, where do you think people should invest? I want to talk about money in a very esoteric energy way. And I know that's what you stand for. So first off, why don't you tell my listeners a little bit about yourself and like what your background did? 'Cause I know your background hasn't always been this.
No, my background hasn't always been this. And thank you for having me on the show and also bringing this conversation to everybody that's out there, because I think it's a conversation that's left taboo and we need to just talk about it because it's not really that big of a deal that we.
It isn't.
No, it's really not that big of a deal. And like when you break it down, it's actually the most lovely, amazing thing. So for me personally, I was an attorney for about 20 years, live outside of Chicago here, and I had the perfect life. You know, I had the 2 kids, the husband, the millionaire, the $1 million house. We go to Europe in the summertime. And we go to the Caribbean in the winter. You know, I could buy anything I wanted. I had all the things that they told you what the American dream success would look like. But then one day I had this aha moment on a yoga mat back in 2013, like a lot of my clients do. They have this moment where they realize like, oh, I've got all the things, but like, what's next? And I literally had like a breakdown, a spiritual awakening, whatever you want to call it, in this moment where I had the ugliest cry of my life and realized as the yoga teacher was talking, which was one of my friends, she's like, are you happy? And I was like, I'm not happy. I'm like, I don't even know who Shamina is anymore. Like, who is she? I had all these things, the success. I did what I was supposed to do. And yet I was lacking in the fulfillment of what happiness should feel like, and after that class, which I stayed in this yoga pose for like 45 minutes, I got out of it and it was the frog pose. I had like a spiritual awakening because my hips were shaking. I started crying. I hadn't cried in 10 years and I had this like release. And I realized after that moment, something in my life had to change because I now could see what I was avoiding because I was really good at duct taping my life. Like,
yeah.
This, just shove down my emotions, push on the way through. I was programmed to do that. That's what most successful women and people do. They just don't stop to feel. They just keep doing. And not too long after that, I found out I was having this awakening and everything in my life, as Fresh Prince would say, my life turned upside down. It was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
And I had to face things. And so I started going through a very spiritual awakening, and being an attorney, let me tell you, if you told me something woo-woo back then, I'd be like, you're crazy. I don't know what you're really talking about. That sounds a little crazy. But when things started happening to me, I started realizing, oh, wait, there's something here that I have not really leaned into. And I started a journey. Like, my marriage obviously was falling apart as well at the same time. And
wait, so I can ask you that. So you're saying that you were happy, but really deep down inside, you weren't fulfilled in that relationship.
No.
Yeah.
I was like most people. They would drink, they go out on the weekends. We had lots of friends. We were doing everything. Like, when people found out that our marriage was falling apart, they were shocked. They're like, we have a picture of you on our mantle as the ideal marriage. And I'm like, oh no, this is just, we were just going through the motions. Once kids came along, it was like it changed the whole game. And, people were like, well, why did you leave such a great guy? You guys were so amazing. I said, we both brought our trauma to the relationship and we just didn't know what to do. Just last night, my daughter was asking me, she's like, Mom, like, why did you get divorced? She's like, I said, well, we had a lot of differences. And she goes, why don't you talk about them? I said, well, I didn't know to do that, baby. I didn't know. She's like, why don't you talk about your feelings? That's what you taught me to do. And I said, I just didn't have the concept of it. I just numbed myself. I numbed until I got to a breaking point. And the breaking point was he needs to move out, as opposed to let's work on it. Right. Which a lot of people do,
Yes.
Where they find drugs, they drink, they have affairs, whatever it was to kind of cope.
They stop, they eat. Yes.
Yeah.
All of
whatever it is, and I realized that breakdown of that relationship had more to do with me than it did with the marriage. And so I was so determined to figure out what was wrong with the situation and how did I attribute to it. So I went on this journey of figuring out me and why, who was I and why did I stay so long in a situation that wasn't serving me? Like, why did I feel like it was okay? And one of my default methods was because I knew survival mode very well. Like, I was trained to be in survival mode, just constantly struggling, constantly just pushing through and not letting myself like recognize where I was, because my nervous system was dysregulated. I was somebody that came from a background of lots of physical violence, and trauma growing up. My father was very abusive, and I didn't know that there was another way. So
you were brought up in the chaos, so it just felt familiar.
And when people were, and my dad and I ended up having a decent relationship, but when I hear about other people having amazing relationships, I'm like, oh, this is how it could be. I didn't understand it, and so I started going on this journey.
How long ago was this?
This was 2013.
Okay. So it's been 11 years.
Yeah. 11 years, 2013. And, I spent that summer having a little bit of a hot girl summer. And then I realized, okay, I have to buckle down. Like, you can't keep going out and doing stuff. I had to figure out what's going on. So I went into something called monk mode, and I spent 3.5 years being celibate, working on myself, working with spiritual teachers, just trying to figure out why did I incarnate in this lifetime? What did I come here to learn? Because I knew I had a big message. I just didn't know what it was. And so I did. I started working on my healing. I've literally taken every single healing modality you can think of.
Oh, me too, girl. Don't get me started.
I drank the juice. I've done the things. I've walked over coals. I've gone to not ashrams, but I've my Kundalini awakened. I've done everything. And then I realized.
Were you still practicing law at the time? Like, still doing your job? Okay.
It was hard to do all that crying and still be functional in society, and plus raise 2 little kids. I just became a single mom, and our lifestyle completely changed. The life that I lived before, I couldn't live that same level of luxury anymore because I didn't have the funds for it. It was not. And I wanted to keep the house because I wanted my kids to have roots. I wanted them to have a stability that I didn't have as a child, and I felt like them being in the house that they grew up in was going to give them that emotional stability. And looking at my kids now, I did the right thing, like they're so amazing. Like, I made a good decision for them, and I broke a lot.
How old are they now?
My son is 18, going off to college soon. And my daughter will be 17 next week.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay.
And they're both they were 4 and 5 at the time, and 5 and 6. But they're both in really emotionally healthy relationships. My daughter knows what attachment styles are. She has emotional intelligence. They are great communicators. I mean, being smart is one thing, but being emotionally smart is a whole next level of life. I
agree. So during this time that you were trying to figure out what was going on, and you saying that you were finding spiritually who you were and your core, what sort of books, what did you dive into at that time? Wayne Dyer came to me in Lots of Dreams. So I started reading Wayne, and he had just passed not too long before that. Obviously Eckhart Tolle, everybody reads The Power of Now. But I really got, like, being the lawyer that I was, I needed science to back up what was happening, because I saw that I would shift an emotional state, and I would be like, oh, I healed this. A new consciousness would awaken inside of me, an awareness that I didn't know before. I'm like, how did I live so long not knowing this? And then I was like, I need to know the quantum physics around it. So then Dr. Joe came into my life, and then I'm like, all right, this was Dr. Joe Dispenza, for anyone who's listening who doesn't know who we're talking about.
I just say him like he's like my boy.
And like you're his pal.
Back in 2014, 15, like he only had a handful of people at his events. Now he's got
thousands and thousands. Yeah.
I mean, he would come up and hug me. That's how close, and he would know me after going through his, his programs. And so when I went through his stuff, I started realizing, wow, I could heal a belief, create a new one, and then I could create my reality that way. And so I started working on how I could become the best version of myself. What was holding me back? Because I had decades of trauma, because once you have an initial event, every event since that event gets compounded and gets created into a new belief system, a new story, a new this, and then you see the lens. I had like big lens of like, oh, life is unfair. I was such a victim because I didn't heal my stuff. So I was in this lack mindset. However, I was so successful. I could create wealth, but I couldn't really keep it all the time. It was like the money would come in, the money would go out, the money would come in, the money would go out. And we were always struggling with like trying to keep it. And I believe that I figured some stuff out later on. So as I was going through this healing process, I realized that I could apply it to you, like your emotional mastery. If you master your emotions, you could create anything in the world, like anything you wanted, as long as you mastered your emotional state. Neville Goddard talks about feeling it real, like feeling is the secret. That is the thing. And so I was like, okay, let me get my emotions in place. Let me make sure that I can control my response so I wasn't reactory. I was very much a hothead. I would blow up at people and because anger is always the forefront of, when you don't have emotional mastery, you just blow up at people because it's, you can't process your emotions. And so then I realized that I could apply it to money because I really wanted to be a money master. I saw all these women with money. I'm like, I know how to make money. I've been a lawyer for so long. I had my own firm. I'm like, let me do this. I can figure this out. And as I started doing this, I started coming across the concept of wealth consciousness. I knew how to shift my own consciousness. We're all conscious beings. Everything is consciousness. If you really look at it, our incarnation and of our spirit is a consciousness being. And I was like, well, how can I apply this to quantum physics, like where I can do the wealth consciousness? Because if you think about it, all reality right now, there's wealth and money everywhere. There's like the wealth. I feel like the quantum field is an abundant place. It doesn't have lack in it, right? It's a place that you can charge for receiving whatever energy that you want. And the more that I could stop being in my victimness, the more wealth that I would bring in. So on a daily basis, I would work on going from lack to prosperity. Where was my stories around lack? Where was my stories around the victimness? Where was I blaming? Where was I not healed? And so that I started looking at people as being the ones that did something to me. How could I bring my power back into myself where I'm like, all right, this situation did happen. Maybe I was victimized, but I no longer decide to be a victim from that situation. You know how like people say it happened, for you.
For you, not to you. But you're saying like during that time you're working towards sort of clearing that out. What does that exercise look like? Was it something that you were journaling? Like what were you doing?
I'll give you an example. So I would literally list on a daily basis, so for example, money, it has a story around it for everybody. I'd write down all my money stories. Like what was my money stories? Like my parents' money stories. Like I had specific stories of my dad, writing down about talking about money and arguing with my mom. So I'm like, what stories were there? What stories did I repeat in my mind that were present? And then what were my own money stories? Like, did I lend money to somebody and they didn't pay it back? Did I feel like I got taken advantage of? Did I feel like I didn't have enough? Did I have like stories where I spent money and I regretted it? Did I have stories where I felt like I wasted my money? Like I wrote them all down. And then what I did was I started looking at where the abundance could come from that story. Let's say you purchased something and it turned out to be not the best thing. What could I learn from that? Well, I could sit in the victimness and be like, gosh, that person ripped me off. And, I shouldn't have bought that. I had this feeling I shouldn't have bought it. Or the abundance thinking mindset would be like, you know what? I bought that. It didn't work out. I have knowledge now and I have data now not to do that again. And so I started doing that with all the stories.
I love that. I love that. I can apply that right now into my life. So thank you.
Yeah. And then I started seeing my toxic behavior with my father. I saw like money and me could have had that same relationship too, because I have found, and I haven't seen anybody teach this anywhere else at all, but I have found that our relationship with money has nothing to do with money, really. It really has nothing. It has to do with a deeper relationship with somebody else in our life. And I have an exercise that I bring people through in a program I have where I had them sit down and, go, and I'm not gonna give you the whole exercise, but just a little snippet of it, but where you go into a room and then you see a pile of money on the chair and like, who do you see? And I have them go through a meditative state to see where it is. And 9 times out of 10, it's their dad or it's the masculine and the mom. And then so I started having like this belief system. I'm like, what if it's, what if money is masculine to us, the way we look at it, right? What if that's how we look at it? And if you think about masculine energy, it's there to protect, to serve, to provide safety, we need a roof over our head, we need money to, do certain things. But masculine energy is that, like when you have a man come into your world, you want him to protect you, you want him to take care of you. Ideally, that's what we want. And many of us who didn't have that safe, masculine energy created a false sense of masculine energy where develops this wounded masculine energy for many alpha females, many women who are, high achievers, many women who didn't know how to open their heart, but just are really go, do, seeking validation. I was one of them.
Hi, present.
I know. and this is not to shame anybody, because yes, that's so great that it helped us succeed and not give up, and you fall down, you get back up again. But I feel like that is such an old paradigm of how to do things now. There's a different way of channeling that type of energy. So anyways, the masculine, I said, oh, what if money is masculine? And what if the way we receive it's feminine? And I started testing this theory with myself, with other clients. And then I started saying, yes, this is the ticket. Because once we started realizing that we were looking at money in a masculine way, and men, you can see how we were emasculating men in our life, or how we were emasculating money, how we were chasing money, chasing success, always going, doing, never relaxing back into the being, never receiving support, not allowing us to even get a compliment from others. I started seeing the web very clear, So if I could bring a woman into my state who has really turned off her emotions, because let's face it, that's the only way that you can function in this world with men, and to be highly successful, you can't be emotional, because once you're emotional, and you can't feel, you can't do, because you're busy in that trying to, move. And a lot of women keep busy, and they keep in that, my schedule is so packed because they don't have to be present in their bodies to feel. And that's something the Power of Now talks about, is being in the present moment. And a lot of us, we try to escape our bodies. So we multitask, we eat while we're doing something else. We're on our Peloton talking on the phone. We're sitting down, have our phone out instead of being present for a conversation. Not because it's being rude, but maybe sometimes it is for some people. But for some people, I think it's a trauma response and I'm not a trauma expert. I'm not a therapist. I've just watched what I've done, and I've watched the pattern of thousands of women that I've worked with. It's just so we don't have to be in our body, right? So if I could get women to be in their body and regulate their nervous system through feeling their emotions, they would have a different level of power. Their feminine would turn on, because their feminine is their emotions. And
yes.
Their feminine is their intuition. Their feminine is the knowing. It's the conviction. It's the I never doubt myself, because a lot of women have the intuitiveness, but then they go against it most of the time. I should have known that. I knew that. Why did I not listen? And so now it's and so if you can relax down, have yourself receive, you will get so much creativity coming through. You will actually know the divine guidance that you need, as opposed to asking everybody else, what do you think? What do you think? And you will also be feeling satiated for the success that you had, because most women don't feel that they can celebrate themselves. They don't feel like they can sit there and go, you know what? I am so proud of me. When I hit $1 million, and I was still working through this at the time, I was like, everybody does that in 10 months or whatever. I'm like, and then I'm like, wait a minute, you need to celebrate yourself. But I felt like I should have been there already. I should have already done this. I should have had this level of success. I'm behind, because I never allowed myself to really celebrate who I was and what I'd accomplished, and I still have to work on that a lot, because I am a high performer. I am a high achiever in that state. But the moment that I could get them to slow down, ask for help, be able to need someone, not be needy, very different. I didn't know the difference until I started doing this work. I always thought if I asked for help, I would look needy and weak.
Same.
And I don't want anybody to have control over me. I'd rather do my work and your work and be said, get done with it. And because I had core wounds, and I feel like our core wounds are abandonment, betrayal, and unworthiness. And I really had a lot of unworthiness and abandonment that was going on in my life, and betrayal. I had all of them. And
you had the trifecta.
Yeah. So for me to let anybody in to help me, what if I let my guard down and let this person in to support me, and then they leave me? Where will I be then? So this is why I see a lot of women struggling who are highly successful, trying to do everything themselves and not bringing a team in to their environment, because they don't feel safe enough to trust that these people won't leave them. Because the biggest thing that I hear from a lot of successful women, I just rather do it myself. There's no point in me hiring somebody, because they're just going to screw it up. And I said, no, maybe that's just your belief system that you can't receive help. So once I was allowing myself to really break through the ability to receive, my team got bigger and bigger. My productivity got up. I was able to expand and do more things that I wanted to with my vision of what I wanted to create in this world. And it feels amazing to be finally supported, especially by an all-woman team. It feels amazing to have that there. And, my sister wound got healed through that. So let's flip back to money. So being in the money state, right? Money masculine, receiving feminine. I found that once she was able to have a balance of her masculine and feminine, she would, let's say, do the masculine things at work that she needs to, but in a feminine energy, which means trusting that what she's doing is the most aligned thing, which means, not having to being able to delegate, being able to receive, support, being able to have the creativity, but knowing how to execute it in a way that she's not exhausted. She's not working, 80 hours a week. She's not, in a place where she's trying to get to the gym, be the mom, do everything and feel resentment because she's not, because resentment is a scarcity mindset. She feels resentment. So once she's able to do this, I had a client that just came in and she said, Shamina, I make good money a month, but I know that I'm emasculating my husband. He's like an ex-NBA player. And she's like, I know I'm emasculating my husband. I know I'm doing this. I'm competitive with him. I don't know why I'm doing it. Within weeks, she started implementing the work and her birthday came up and he had rented a private jet and he took her on a trip with her girlfriends to Nashville. And he had never done something like that for her before because she wasn't giving him an opportunity to be in his masculine to support her.
Okay, but wait, then does it also, if women have to sort of dance between the masculine and feminine energy around money, do men as well?
Yes, 100%. But I think men figured it out a little bit differently, at least the men that are making money. So I'll tell you about her husband. He saw that she was making money, but he got an opportunity to support her. And so he was able to support her in that way. And when you are a very powerful woman, being supported by the masculine is so critical for our growth. It's so critical for us to be in our bigness so that someone else is not being intimidated by our big energy. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And so we can be too much and not be negative and not be a negative thing. Because I think a lot of women who are at this level have been told that they were too much. And so they shrink down and they try to stay below a level of success that they have the potential to exceed upon. And, for men, what I found is some men, like some of my guy friends, they know when they have to be on and they also know when they have to be off. And the ones that make money the easiest in my world are the ones that know when to put the offer out there and walk away, or when to trust what they've come up with, that it's a good thing and leave it alone. Trust that their decisions that they made was for their best abilities, and I feel like,
and not being needy, which is what I want to, yes, I want to go back to what you said about allowing things to just play out and not needing to push and being in that masculine energy. And I have been on both ends of the spectrum. I have lived my life where I allow and let the universe take control and things are just so much easier. And I've been my Capricorn self, pushing projects, pushing people. Things do get done, but it seems really taxing. So how can you trust, especially in a time where things are so uneasy? If somebody's listening to this now and they're not in the most, financially stable place, how do you find where you can trust and not have to know how in that space?
I would start building the muscle of trust. So when I was starting all over again, my bank account, I just had a screenshot of it. I was showing my team. This is 2019. I was starting all over again and I had a little bit of money in there, but it was all going away and it was negative. And I'm like, I needed to become in the mindset that wealth was always going to be in existence no matter what. There was this frequency and this energetics of money and wealth. And all I had to do was match myself to it, whether I had the money or not, right? I had to always be in that alignment. So, I screenshot this bank account. It had zero. One account had zero. One had a negative 289 and one had $11 in it. I'm like, I kind of laughed and I took this picture and I'm like, one day I'm going to look back on this and remember how far I've come. And that was just only 4 years ago. And actually 2 years from that point, I started making millions of dollars. So this is what I did. I did not look at the current reality of what's going on. If there's a dip in my business of 1 month, that doesn't mean anything. Whatever we assign meaning to is what we believe. So if people believe there is an economy that's in the downfall, that's what they're going to believe. I don't try to change someone's mindset about that. If you believe abundance is there, I will take you to the next level. I believe that millionaires are made in a down economy. And I also believe that other people believe that. There's statistics to show that happens. So what do those people believe that the rest of the world doesn't? They don't succumb to the scarcity mindset that's being spewed out. Yes, we can go look and see that, the price for gas went up, the price for bread went up. I could see that, but could I make that mean something? Or could I say, let me just make more money and let me just do the thing that I want to do? We just booked a trip to Europe. A lot of people wouldn't do that right now in this economy. And I'm taking my kids first class, but I know that there's more money coming. Money's just something that we created as a society for bartering. So we're going to need food. We're going to need a shelter. The money is not running out. The more that I understood that, the less scarcity I was in. I believe that they were printing more money in 2020 than they ever had since 1976 or 86. That just goes to show you that it's there. It's happening. It's like the money's there. So all I had to believe that more was coming. That's a saying in my business that I got myself through some really low moments, is if I believed that more was coming, how would I operate today? I would buy the thing that I want. I would do the thing that I want.
Okay, but wait, hold on, because I think, and I want to get to that. I was listening to Bob Proctor the other day, whom I love. I love all his teachings, and he was saying that you can make your own economy in your own life. But for someone who's listening now, it's like, okay, Shamina, yes, great, but I'm not going to go book a first class flight to Europe because I can't even pay my bills. So if somebody, tell me.
Okay. So I have my Starbucks right here. I'm going to tell you this story because this is how it started for me. And stay with me on this. This is where I want all of you to really tune into this because it's a lesson that you can go take and adopt to your life. So back in 2020, I just had started my business online to go boom, and things were picking up, but I had this thing that in 2011, I used to be a bodybuilder. And so being on a really low, lean diet was really important, not having sugar, et cetera, and drinking coffee was huge. So I saw that I was really addicted to coffee, but I wanted to change. And so I was in LA and the gal at the counter said, hey, have you tried matcha? I said, no, let me see what that is. She said, okay. She rang it up. She goes, it'll be 80 cents. I was like, 80 cents? Starbucks? What? And she's like, yeah, look, here it is. And I was like, this tastes delicious. It was just matcha and water because I don't use dairy. And I walked away feeling like I robbed the bank, I was like, I win. Because I was always a discount deal girl. Like everything had to be discounted for me to appreciate it. So I was living in my discount life. Now, fast forward a year or two, they started charging for it more. They said to me, it's going to be $2.45 now. I said, why? They go, well, there's been a statewide, a regional thing. Starbucks, said that you've got to pay for it. I said, nothing has changed. It's the same ingredients. It's the same thing. It's not even on the menu. They're like, well, this is what the rules are. You have to pay. I'm like, I need to see the manager. I was like, I need to see the manager right now. I want to talk to the regional manager. How dare you do this to me? I was so up in arms. I was very triggered by this increase. Anyways, after I got all the regional people and they gave me whatever, I succumbed to the 245. Happened again not too long after that. It went up to 358 or something. I did the same thing again. I was up in arms. I was so betrayed by Starbucks for raising the price of the same thing that I was paying for, years prior. And I wanted to talk to the managers. I was so upset. I remember being in Puerto Rico and I was in the line at one of their Starbucks, and the line was down the road, and my kids are like, oh, mom's doing her thing. And like the guy behind me is like, lady, I'll just buy your drink. And I'm like, it's principle. How dare they raise the price on me,
Well, I mean, it's inflation too, but maybe not that much.
So fast forward, it's 2020 and the price is $4 something. And I'm in line waiting because that's what we did. We left our houses to go get Starbucks, and everybody was in the car, and I was pulling up and they raised the price, and I got that trigger again. And I said, Shamina, why are you doing this? Why every time that they raise the price, you get this feeling of being so betrayed by a corporation? Like, what is it? Because this was my wealthy woman, happy girl thing I did every single day. It was something that brought me so much joy. I can't explain it, but maybe people who drink coffee, they can understand. It's just something that really lights up my day to drink it. And, I said, you know what? You have the money for this. Why do you feel the betrayal? And so I decided in that moment what was going on. And I did the things that I teach myself to do. I went through the process of why is this betrayal here? Who is this with? What is happening? And as we were waiting in line, I get up to the counter and I say to them, He said what the price was. I saw what was before when they say this is your total. I paid, and then I said, you know what? I'm going to pay for the people behind me. And my daughter was like, oh my gosh, that's so good. And then my son's like, pay for the people behind you after that. And I was like, okay. But I was checking how much they were charging, because if they're doing like a $200 trip at Starbucks, I would have, rethought it probably. But it was, a small amount. I said, okay. And then I said, you know what? Do the people behind you. And I just in that moment decided that I could expand my thinking, but this betrayal had nothing to do with Starbucks or the money I was spending. It had to do with other betrayals that I had in my life. And once I was able to really recognize that a small purchase of $4 or whatever it was triggering that money exchange, I realized that I had something to really work through that I did right there and on the spot, because I'd been doing the work so long. Well, as soon as I left there, I felt a peace come over me. I said, you know what? You can buy the things that you desire. You don't need to get them on a discount. You don't need to have a deal. You don't need to feel betrayed because a corporation decides to raise their pricing, because they have every right to charge what they want. Anybody can charge what they want. It's up to you if you want to spend the money, right? But it was my victimness that was coming out.
Yes.
It was the lack mindset that was being triggered every single time I went to purchase this. It was solved that day. And as I went out the parking lot, obviously there's more to it, like in that minute. But as I went out the parking lot, got to the light, I had a $10,000 Stripe payment come through my phone, and I was like, bam! How much resistance was I creating for my wealth? Because I was living in the victimness of something that I knew was triggering me all the time. So what I would say is find something that might elicit a certain emotion in you. It doesn't have to be a first class plane ticket, because that could do that for a lot of people. Trust me, even my millionaire friends, it does it to them, and anybody. And so find something. Could be a small Starbucks thing that you do, or it could be, paying for your dry cleaning. It could be paying for a paper. It could be paying for parking. Whatever it is that makes you go, oh, this is unfair. And find that unfairness. Go deeper into it, because I can tell you right now that unfairness goes all the way back to another story that you have that's holding you captive and keeping your money from circulating, and keeping you from believing that there's more money, keeping you from believing that you're worthy and deserving of having more, keeping you from believing that there's an abundance thinking, and keeping you in the lack. So that's
It's that saying, if you're hysterical, it's historical. So there's something in your past that's triggering you. And I know your story of the Starbucks is true in my own life. I have been times where I have been very nervous about money or something coming, especially I work in a union. So you have to make a certain amount of dues for my daughter and I to have insurance. And every year it's like that calculation. And there are times I just know it's coming. It's weird. I just know, and I trust the universe, and then it does. I know it to be true that when you let go of the control, and that's not to say that you're just eating chocolate in your bed all day. It's living and, going on that path of your intuition, things will come to you. It is like magic. I don't know how it works, but it does work. And I do believe you that the $10,000 deal came in, because that's how it works. That is how it works. There is quantum physics behind allowing, just the art of allowing money to flow in, because money is just energy. And I do feel, even this conversation, so many people have a problem, especially women have a problem discussing money. A lot of my friends and I discuss money, but some of my friends will never discuss it with me. Friends of mine for 20 years won't discuss it with me, because it's this taboo subject, but it is just an exchange of what you were saying. It's just an exchange of energy.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's because they were raised, many people, me included, you can waste this money, but rich people are bad. That's a really, really, really subconscious belief that a lot of people have, like the wealthy are dirty, because they say filthy rich, right? You heard that term before. So they've attached a negative meaning to having more money, yet you want to have success, but I don't want to be too successful. I don't want to be too showy with my money. I don't want people to judge too much, where I'm like, no, you get to be unapologetically rich. You get to be unapologetic with your money. If you get to be unapologetic, you want that, go for it. You want to buy the Rolex, you want to buy the Ross purse. I don't care. Whatever makes you happy. You do whatever that makes you happy, but don't use your money and the things that you desire based upon how other people are going to receive you.
That's right.
So if you want to this is a big issue with a lot of my clients, is that they're wealthy or they're successful, and then they want to have more. And so their family's like, aren't you greedy? Like, why do you want more? Like, give to the rest of us. And why do successful people have to give to everybody else? They get to do whatever they want with their money.
That's right.
There's no disclaimer or fine print under there saying, because you busted your butt and you did all these things that you need to give to everybody. I love giving to everybody, mind you. Like, the more money I make, the more I take care of everybody, but I don't feel obligated to do it, and I feel like a lot of women feel obligated. So what do? They stop the flow of their cash.
That's right. That's right.
There's always a subconscious belief that's in there.
I have also lived in that. I don't want to be showy, but then it was only a few years ago. I was traveling somewhere. I think I was flying first class. I didn't want to show that I was in a first class seat when I was posting pictures, and something smacked me over the head that I came from nothing. I mean, I came from nothing, and I have created this beautiful life for my daughter and I should celebrate the fact that I came from nothing and I'm able to do this instead of trying to hide it. And since that day, I'm not like Mariah Carey by any means, but I'm proud of who I've become. I'm proud of my house. I'm proud of every little luxury. I still love clipping a coupon. Don't get me wrong. I love a coupon, but I still love treating myself to beautiful experiences with my, and my daughter into a beautiful day. And I saw a post that you did the other day about having the luxury of making money in a way, not for, for showing, but just to spend time with your kids on a random Tuesday. And that's what life is about. Life is about being able to have the ability to pick and choose how you want to live your life. And money, it's freedom. Health is freedom. And so is having a life that can support you in the way that you want.
Absolutely. It's that I feel like the chains and the shackles have broken from me now. Like I get to create. I wake up when I'm done sleeping. I get to create my life. Like time is such a man-made thing in my belief system. I'm on spiritual time for a lot of things, but I also don't want the timelines to stop the success so I can quantum leap whenever I want to. I want to bring in as much money. If I said, it was going to take me 5 years to create this, I put a timeline on myself. But if I live in this moment and allow myself to do what I want to do in this time period, which I know not everybody has the luxury of it, and I didn't before, but I've created that for myself with my children, and being a single mom, it's, you're everything. So I celebrate what you've done, for your daughter too, because it's like, I want it all now. I don't want to have to wait. When we were a child, we were told you have to have this candy, this purple or red. And I would sit there and look at both and be like, I want both.
Yes.
I don't want you to tell me I have one or the other. I want both. And I'm teaching my kids they can have both, because that option does exist too. It's not one or the other. You don't have to limit yourself. There are no limits. And if there are no limits, then what can you go create in the world, right? You could be limitless with your ideas, your vision, and the wealth. And so, by the way, I love a good deal still. Like if I see that there's a discount code, your girl's not going to ignore that. I'm going to put that thing in there. But
100%. I love a discount code.
Yeah.
I always Google the discount code before I check out.
I'm not saying not to, right? But what I'm saying is, if you want to buy it, don't stop from buying it just because you don't have the code, right?
That's right.
If you want to go buy the Louis Vuitton purse, go buy it, because I know that shit's going to go on sale, right? So go buy that if you want to. Don't limit yourself because you just need things, because need is one category of life. Go into because I just desire it. When you purchase things from just desire, more money comes to you. It's the most extraordinary thing, because you're feeding a part of your abundance inside of you that says, oh, I get to have that. Bring me on more. So when you say you love the little luxuries, those little things actually are exponentially growing the wealth that's available in your life, whether you know it or not. Because the more that you allow yourself to have this thing, and I started off really small, like when I started first making money, we went to Cancun. It's like my kids love that place. My daughter, because the UV's high there. I'm sick of it now, but like we go there, and I can say that, and don't take that the wrong way, but we go there when I only had I made a little bit of money in my business, and we went to a resort, and my kids, I didn't spend a lot of money. We flew regular. It was always, whatever it was, my kids had a blast. But every time that I made money, I went and did something that would show myself, this is the life I want to create. Like I lived it. I didn't hoard it. I circulated it.
Yes.
And the more that I circulated it, it came back to me. I didn't.
Yes.
Because the fear is why people hoard and hang on to money like this, and If you don't circulate it, well, you're not going to allow it to come back. And I'm not saying you have to do big circulation, you know?
Right. You don't have to buy the first class ticket like you did. It could be something as small as buying a movie theater ticket, you know, and that movie theater has reclining seats. It could be small things to celebrate. And you were saying you love the small luxuries. You know what else I love? And I'm not afraid to say it. If I ever even find any money, even if it's a penny on the floor in public, I pick it up. I pick it up. I don't care how embarrassed like people are around me. My mom's like, I always say, thank you, universe. Thank you, universe.
I took a video today and sent it to my team because I saw Penny. I'm just going to put it in my stories right now. Because if you put that in your stories, I'm like, look at it. Penny was heads up. I was washing my car after. I like to hand wash my car. And so I washed my car and I picked up the penny. I took a video and I'm like, I never pass money. I don't know if I was raised that way, but let me tell you, a penny to me, and this is an exercise I say, the universe doesn't know the difference between a penny and $1 million. But
That's
the excitement that I see with a penny, it's the frequency of more. Like, look, there's money here. And like, so people will be like, Shamina, I did that, but then all I see is pennies. I'm like, okay, up it. You know, start saying like more wealth comes to me, but you need a desire for money to go. You can't say, I just want money, because wanting money is, what are you going to do with it? So that's why I always say, create like a vision, or a vision. I put it on my phone, like a screen. Yep. Is what I want. Like, I
love a vision board.
Put my kids on there. I don't put, if you have a dog, I don't put the dog on there. I put what I want to create with my reality. So every time I pick up my phone, it's programming my subconscious of, oh, that's my jet. That's my yacht. That's my millionaire boyfriend.
Okay.
Actually, it says billionaire boyfriend. Let's get real. And so, and so I put that stuff on there, and, I mean, it's amazing, like how close the universe gets with things, because if you don't know the difference, because your subconscious runs on your emotions, right? And so your subconscious doesn't know reality. It only knows what you program it. So if you program it to believe more is coming, you program it to believe a penny is like finding $1 million or whatever it is, that's what you're going to start to want. And this is how I manifested and created almost everything in my life, is like the feeling of, feeling of, that's what it is. Okay, Shamina, I could talk to you for another hour. Well, you have to come back. You just have to. But for anyone listening, I will put all of Shamina's contact information, her website, her Instagram, a link to your book as well, which is Unlocking the Quantum Woman. Oh, there it is. There it is. So I'll put the link, and you have to promise to come back. I will. Yeah. And go check out my podcast, Unapologetically Rich. Women binge it. They love it. And they're like, she knows me. I do know you. Yes.
I love it. Thank you.